Hello, beautiful people. We are back. Apologies for yesterday. I know I had told you that we were going to have Craig Ryan from Lincoln and South. We had to move things around a little bit. So Craig's going to be on with me Friday. I think we're going to do that in the morning. Tomorrow, I'm going to have Chef Corey Adams from Nectar in Hilton Head. They have a very cool wine dinner that's coming up at Nectar that I want to talk to him about. They were kind enough to participate in the soup tour as well with their chicken pot pie soup. So we're going to talk to him about that. I think we're also going to talk to Anita Burke from the over in Coligny. There is a Hilton Head Island House of Jerky. I thought that was kind of a cool thing to cover as well, down in Coligny, popular little spot that she's been running for a while. But in the meantime, I want to get right to it today with this special breakfast installment. And this is going to be one of those ones that's going to get me good and hungry, as I have not even had my coffee is sitting right here over to the side of me. But without any further ado, it is an honor and a privilege to introduce to you owner of the Cottage Cafe, Bakery, and Tea Room, as well as the Bluffton Pasta Shop and the Juice Hive, and May River Coffee Roasters. We have Leslie Rohland. Hi, Leslie.
Hello.
How are you? I'm good. I'm good.
Good.
I like the backdrop. You get some nice, beautiful art back there.
Thank you. That's mostly my mom's. Yeah. Thank you.
Oh, really? That's excellent.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. That's actually a good place to start. So in my humble opinion, and this is the God's honest truth. I'm not just telling you because we're staring at each other through the internets here, but when I have someone come to Bluffton, someone's coming, a visitor, maybe a family member, maybe a friend, maybe a colleague, maybe it's my father saying, so-and-so is coming into town. Where can I send them to for breakfast, lunch, dinner, etc.? When it comes to breakfast, brunch, and lunch, invariably the top of my list for recommendations, especially if someone wants to get a taste of Old Town. My recommendation, more often than not, pretty much every time, is I think you should go to the Cottage. And when they ask why, it's a very simple answer for me, and that is because this is an iconic restaurant, right? This is an iconic business right on Calhoun Street in Old Town Bluffton, and this is a place that has quite a bit of history. So let's just start with that, and we're going to get into a lot of food, and we're going to get into the recent renovations, and we're going to talk about the other businesses as well. But just to kind of start with that, how important is it to you that you have this landmark, not just like the business itself, but the location, the actual brick and mortar building that you're in? Talk to us a little bit about the history of this and how this came about. I'm assuming this was probably your first one, right? This was your first business in town?
This was my first one that I, as owner.
Yes. Okay. So talk about how that came about, and let's touch on a little bit of that history, because I think it's important that people learn about that, and I love to learn about it too. That's my favorite part of doing these interviews.
It's pretty interesting, and I'll preface it by saying thank you so much for your kind words, because they really mean a lot in today's environment and in today's what we're living through today. So Absolutely. We really appreciate that, and I know I speak for my staff. So I moved to South Carolina in 1999 from New York City, and I was hired from the two gentlemen that were opening up the Jazz Corner.
Uh-huh.
And we interviewed, and they came up to New York City, and we toured a bunch of jazz clubs, and they had this position open for general manager of the new jazz club. And this was in 1999. And so, kind of in New York City, I think I was ready for a change. And my family was living in Savannah at the time. So it kind of made sense to me to make the move south, and sort of stopping what I was doing up there. So I made this leap of faith, and I moved to Hilton Head very briefly before I moved to Bluffton. And we opened up the Jazz Corner, and was really privileged to work and manage that location and that venue and create that culture there for roughly 7 to 8 years. And then when the economy, went south with the real estate stuff, everyone was looking at their business models. And so they kind of shifted me into a home position because I had just had my child, Blaze. And they said, we want you to work from home so you can be with your son. This is the best gift I've ever had in this industry. We want you to work from home. We're going to promote you, and we want you to take over all of these other modalities that make this business run. And that included the payroll, the marketing, creating a website, payroll involvement. And so I looked at it with a bunch of fear because I hadn't done any of that stuff, but I was also very highly in a state of gratitude for being able to be with my son. So we made this shift, and I learned how to do everything as a manager at that time on the back end of a restaurant business.
Right.
Jazz clubs are very notorious for being very difficult models because of the overhead, because of the music. So I learned that facet of it as well. Mm-hmm. So after that happened, then it came time to move on. And so I had all this information and all this different training under my belt. And at the time, I had started a little tiny company called the Bluffton Muffin Company. And I was one of the very first 10 vendors at the farmers market of Bluffton. And that's when we were over at Oyster Park. So I was going out there every Thursday, and I was humping my baked goods, and I was bringing my son with me, and I was just kind of waiting to see what, sort of the universe would provide for me. But at this time, this was the best that I could do with my son, and with having a need to be creative in the culinary business. I've always worked in restaurants. I've had multiple jobs, but I've always made my living in restaurants, and I've done every single possible position in a restaurant. But I was getting my bake on, and I kind of like that. So at one of the farmers market, one of the guys that was on the board at the time, Ed, he approached me and he said, gosh, he goes, this is a really great thing you're doing here. Bluffton has nothing like it. Why don't you think about doing something? And I said, well, I kind of have a bake shop in mind. And I'd been looking at properties in the promenade at the time, but nothing really was coming through. And I didn't love the tightness of the promenade. And so someone said, oh, there's this house on Calhoun Street that's an office and an art gallery for Amos Hummel, my favorite Bluffton artist, one of them anyway. And
a lot of good ones.
Yeah. And he goes, you should really go down there and see what's happening in that space and see if that's available. And I said, okay. So I did. So I took a walk down Calhoun Street and ran into the owner at the time. And we had a beautiful conversation, and we really hit it off. And he said, I would be amenable to this. And I said, okay. So I had taken one look at the porch of the cottage, and bake shop went out the window. I said, oh my God, this has to be a restaurant. It absolutely has to be a tea house, of which I knew zip about tea and doing high tea. I said, this is a glorious southern venue for a small cafe of some kind. And then the ball started to roll. We went in there. It took about 6 or 8 months to do a renovation and sort of make it friendly. We got the bakery cases we have are from Savannah from the 60s. And, we did the best we could with the space we had. And at the time, that back building, which is now our new addition, was not available. That was actually an office space. So as small as it was, it was like it was inspired from a higher purpose because it became very challenging right from the get-go. Mostly, I think, because it's a historic home. And inherently, you will always have that as a line item on your P&L, renovations, repairs, and maintenance. And so, I had this glorious menu, and I was in the kitchen with this superb staff. And Unfortunately, we made the decision to open up on a farmer's market day. And that was the true test of character of myself and of my staff, and everyone performed great. And I still have customers that come in to this day. I mean, we're in our 16th year, and we still have customers that come in from that very first day that said, "Oh, you served me that raw burger." And I was like, "Oh my God, don't even remind me of the raw burger," because our equipment hadn't been tested. It was like we were running around with our heads cut off. And so, the transition from working on Hilton Head from Jazz Corner into the Bluffton market was a learning curve in and of itself.
Right.
But it was just great. And we were welcomed with open arms. We were super proud to be on Calhoun Street because at that time there was really nothing. I mean, absolutely nothing. We were the first restaurant on Calhoun Street, and we were surrounded by these fabulous art galleries and these very cool, unique shops like Eccentricities. And so we were part of, I think we instantly became embedded in what Bluffton state of mind is.
Yes.
And that's a phrase people throw around a lot, but when you really begin to understand that and live that, there is a huge sense of freedom in having that behind you and walking behind that. And we were fortunate in that regard. I think it was one of those, we hit it at the right time, in the right place, with the right people, with the right, model. And we have been accepted so fabulously in Bluffton, on Hilton Head, even into the Bluffton Port Royal market. And it has just been a really beautiful relationship that we've had with our customer base and with the people that live in and around Bluffton. And, we got a little jiggy with the venue. We were doing dinners for a really long time up until COVID, and it was great. We were doing some early bird stuff for the people out of Sun City, and we were getting jiggy with some catering. We started a catering company called Sidecar Catering that did very well during COVID. In fact, it really was a huge aid in saving us, from that debacle of what that was in our lives.
Yeah.
And it has just been, and I have staff that have been with me since day one, and it has just been a really beautiful journey, that we just would love to see keep going.
Absolutely. COVID was interesting. My brother-in-law is a chef up in Maine. Him and my other brother-in-law own a cheese shop called Nibblesford in Biddeford, Maine. But prior to that, he worked at a place called Local 188. And and during COVID, a lot of businesses had to do this, right? You kind of had to like improvise on the fly. And they started doing I don't remember the exact word that they used for it, but it became like a place for provisions where you could go there and you could pick up meats and vegetables and things like that. So it was obviously not as ideal as having a full restaurant, but that just wasn't something that could happen during that period of time. So a lot of them had to make changes on the fly to be able to make it through that. You kind of had to see a few steps ahead and say, okay, we got to kind of slightly tweak our business model. And a lot of the in-home, whether it was pickup or whatever the case was in catering and things like that, that became a big deal in terms of, let's just get these meals so that we can, enjoy them at home when we're, whatever the term was, sheltering in place or whatever it was. That was a challenging time for the industry, but the ones that were able to kind of be creative and somehow make it through. And the other challenge with that is you mentioned your employees, and this is something that I like to talk about a lot. You have so I was there for lunch last week, right? And we're going to talk about a couple of things that I had, and we're going to talk about a lot of food, but you have a pretty sizable staff.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, at any given time, what would you say is your if you have a full staff for breakfast or brunch or lunch service, what does that look like in terms of the numbers?
I would say we always have a minimum of 2 management on staff and a minimum of 4 in the kitchen. The kitchen is very small, right? I mean, it's no bigger than a small bedroom, probably in a small house, but super tight kitchen. And we generally run with 4 servers unless we're in full-blown season, and then we'll bump up to 5.
Right.
It's a very tight staff. They are, I have to say, this is probably one of the best staffs I've ever had, and they are tight, and they have it down to a science now.
Not only do they do an incredible job, and it's like a well-oiled machine.
Yep.
This is something that I talked about the other day with Chef Brian from the Laundry Diner. I saw a video that came up, and I mentioned this during the interview with him. It was 2 guys from the restaurant business, and they basically, the gist of it was there's not really a solution for if the food is bad, right? If the food is bad, the food is bad.
Right.
But if the food, maybe it's not, and again, I'm not talking about the Cottage. I'm just talking about in general. If the food at a restaurant, it might not be like excellent, but if the service is superior, then that can cover a lot of those things. And it's because people want to go to a place where they want to feel welcomed, they want to feel valued, and they want to feel comfortable. And with a place like yours, where there's going to be plenty of tourists that are going to be coming into Bluffton to check out the farmers market on a Thursday or any particular day of the week. They're going to come and they're going to stroll down Calhoun Street and they're going to pop in there. But whether it's someone that's going in just for a one-off because they're here one time and they haven't tried it before, or whether it's maybe an appointment during the time that they're here on vacation, or if it's locals, they know that when they come in there, they're going to be greeted, right in the front there, right here at the hostess, at the hostess stand. And they know that they're going to be welcomed and they're going to feel like it's a place where, and that's the other thing that you mentioned that I think is important to note. We say this, and I have the signs, hanging up in my living room downstairs. Bluffton is a state of mind. Yeah. It sounds just like one of these cliche things, but like you said, it really is one of those things. If you're here and you experience it and you've gotten to spend any particular length of time here in Bluffton, you really see what that truly means. And you are the, essentially, your restaurant is essentially like the anchor. I would say that between that and you walk out back, obviously, where you have, you mentioned the guest cottage, you have what is now Agave, formerly the dispensary. Yep. That's kind of like the anchor of this situation in Old Town. Yes, you have other restaurants that are very good. You have the Pearl, you have Ocon, which is one of the newer ones to the scene over there in the Bridge Collective. But this particular, if you dropped a pin and you said you're going to hang out and you're going to spend a couple hours in Old Town, for the most part, you're dropping that pin right in front of the Cottage there, right? Because you're right at that intersection there, and then you're a short stroll from Martin Family Park, which is of course where they have the farmers market now every Thursday. I find myself most Thursdays, even just if I'm going to take a quick stroll around, just to see everybody over there. But it really is in many ways, it is in an iconic spot. And the whole experience with, and I'm just going to kind of take it through, and we're going to go through a lot of stuff here, and we'll talk about some of the stuff that I got the other day that at least in my mind is newer, because you make quite a bit of changes on this seasonally, which is awesome. But then you're always going to have like the really go-to ones. We're even going to talk about you guys. I was very thankful that you participated in the soup tour with the French onion soup, which was excellent. Thank you. The whole experience and that particular day was nice for me because I never got to actually sit in the back room there, which you've done an incredible job. So when you're dining at the Cottage, you can sit out on the porch. I was out there by myself the other day because it was a little chilly. Yeah, you had heaters and I was perfectly comfortable. I wanted to kind of like when I'm doing my thing, I kind of like to be like, whether it's a wine dinner or whether it's just me going and grabbing lunch somewhere, I kind of like to be out of the way, inconspicuous, kind of doing my thing. Ironically, I did have a gentleman that was leaving lunch and looked over and said, "Hey, Nick," and complimented me on my content and stuff like that, which is always very nice to hear. Yeah. But from the get-go, this is a place for me that has been, again, one of my favorites, whether it's I'm meeting someone for business or whether it's, like I said, and I have a couple photos from that day too. I think it was something that we did with my parents that was like a special occasion. My parents closed on their house in Hilton Head Plantation about a month or so after we closed on our home out here in Lawton Station. And so I have this hat probably hanging out back here somewhere, that
Yeah.
says Lawton Station, Bluffton. It's kind of like one of those old school, kind of like the that NWA rap group, you know, with like it's got like the script of the name of the town. Like from that movie, and mine says in little block letter says Bluffton, and then under it says Lawton Station. And I got one for, it's hanging up over there. I got one from my mother that said Hilton Head and Plantation in like that fancy script letters, in kind of like, so mine is like the Bluffton. I think it's the Bluffton High School. Like one of the schools is like the silver and black colors, which is perfect because it makes it look like that Los Angeles or that Oakland Raider hat.
Yeah.
And my mom got with like the brown, like almost like the color of the sign when you're going down William Hilton Parkway and you see the Hilton Head Plantation sign. It's like that brown with like the golder color in there. So I've had many occasions like that. But just to kind of take it through. The one thing that I can say about the food, specifically at the Cottage, is such like the presentation. It's always such wonderful, beautiful colors, right? We're starting with a southern staple, right? The fried green tomatoes.
Yeah.
This is something that it's always going to have to be on there, right? Because
always, yep.
So you guys do it with what's the preparation here that you guys do with
so we do it with a Cajun tomato sauce, very little cream in there, but that's how we do it. And one of the things I loved the best when I was creating the menu and creating everything at the Cottage years and years ago is I love creating spice mixes.
Yes.
So I created this mix. I think it has 13 ingredients in it. And what's the best part about it is it's not spicy. It literally just rolls, and you can get every flavor from the front to the back of your tongue. And it's one of those things I could never take off, you know. And now what's happened is some of the menu items are taking off more than this one, but this has been on since day one.
Yeah.
So we just keep it because we love it. It's like it's like a child, I guess.
Yes. Definitely one of the most popular ones. This for me, this for me is this dish alone is worth the price of admission.
Yeah.
Okay.
You had this, right? When you were there?
I've had it. I did not last week, but I've had it several times. Don't get me wrong. I thought about it, but with the taco special thing that was going on, and I was also lured in by the chicken Caesar, and I'm going to show you guys that as well. But this is one of my favorites, and I've had this a number of times. This is essentially I would say we would call it like a deconstructed pot pie kind of situation, right?
For sure. Yep. And this came out of years ago, just the want and the need to create a very Southern stew-like, warm, locally sourced, using local products that have been around forever and ever and ever in this area that our ancestors were using when they were living here. And basically that's what it is. It's basically crab and corn and bacon, of course, because bacon has to be in everything. So
of course.
And that's actually, I've tried several times to take this off the menu and it has failed miserably. So it's, again, one of those items that will forever be there. And what's really cool about this was an inspiration, is actually one of the main spices in that is fresh ginger. Oh. And so that came about when we were trying it in the early days, when we were testing this recipe. It just had a heaviness to it. And I said, they're going to be asleep within 4 bites of this dish. What can we do, for the body, for the mind, and for the soul to keep them awake so they can eat the whole thing? And that's right about when I had opened the Juice Hive, and we do tremendous ginger production over there.
Yeah. And
then I realized the connection between, especially in Asian cuisine, right? The use of ginger and a lot of savory stuff. And I was like, oh my God, this is it. This is it. So the addition of that ginger takes it to a whole different level.
I completely agree. I love this dish. I love anything with corn. I'm a big corn person. Obviously, I'm a big crab person as well. Excuse me. This dish is as savory as it gets, and on a hot day like this, as we had this little cold snap over the last couple of days, I can only highly recommend folks that you get over there and enjoy this crab and corn and bacon pot pie with the puff pastry, the creme fraiche, and of course the scallions on there. You know me, and I'm gonna circle back, and I'm gonna bug you probably in the next 4 or 5 weeks, because I'm gonna follow up the soup de tour with what I'm going to call Enjoy Every Sandwich.
Oh yeah.
So it's going to be a sandwich tour. I already know that you guys are gonna want in on this one. This is the muffaletta sandwich, which is full stop. It's one of my favorite sandwiches anywhere around here. I love myself, like an Italian sandwich. Muffaletta, my first muffaletta experience in New Orleans a handful of years ago when my friend had a bachelor party there. It was love at first bite.
Yeah.
There are some good muffaletta sandwiches that you can get. River Road has one that's pretty good. I also Alvin Ord's actually does a pretty decent muffaletta one on there. Interesting, that round French bread that they use. This one is just perfect. It's on that nice soft bread when you get like that little bit of a panini press. You have the Italian cold cuts in there. You have the obviously the lettuce, the tomato, the onions, and then you have the muffaletta. What is a signature of a muffaletta is basically like that sort of like olive tapenade type of situation that you have
Right.
on there,
It's
right?
like an olive relish, but that really is the game changer and the deal breaker on a muffaletta. We're not
Yes.
running this right now, but now that you bring it up, I think I'm going to bring it back because it's so cold and it's so nice.
Well,
But this is great.
You're right. It's not on the menu right now, but that's okay because you have like right now, just like, and this is just like, just go off the cuff here. I mean, there is a sandwich for everybody on, and we're going to talk about salads and stuff like that too. But these paninis, at any given time, there's a pulled pork panini.
Yeah.
We talked about the fried green tomatoes. You can get those if you don't want them the presentation that we showed before. You can get that as a BLT. It was really hard for me the other day not to get the French dip because I just love French dip. So I'm going to be coming back
We
for that
I
soon.
can never again. I can't take it off. It's not even a Southern thing. You know what I'm saying? But
I know.
we have to have it.
It's incredibly popular. You have the turkey and apple and brie, which that's something that my mother that's right up her alley. And I know she's had that a couple of times. I have also really enjoyed it. I'm the type of person where I don't particularly love mixing my savories and my sweets, but guys, if you are into a Monte Cristo sandwich, which is turkey, ham, Swiss, you get it on that battered bread. Yours has an interesting little feature to it, though. You guys incorporate a grape sauce. How on earth did that come in? I'm a big sauce guy as it is. And yes, like I said, I prefaced it by saying I don't typically like if it it's tough for me when it even with like a salad incorporating some fruits and stuff like that. I usually kind of have like a strict delineation. I want my saltiness and my savoriness, and then I want my sweets. But this grape sauce works.
Yeah.
What insanity! Seriously, this is just a crazy sauce to come up with. How did that come about?
So I am a huge believer, and I love doing research.
Yes.
So generally what will happen with me is I'll have some kind of inspiration about something I want to do. Sometimes it comes to me like I'll pair these ingredients together. And then I'll sit down and I'll start doing my research and I'll think about in what application am I going to use those. The grape sauce. So the Monte Cristo is a very old sandwich, right? It's been around actually for a very, very, very long time. And I do believe in the very early days via the diner, it was always served with a side of jelly. And I'm not sure that the actual preparation was done the same way. And I didn't want to do jelly because it's very hard to eat because it's not smooth and consistent. So we just got in the kitchen one day. This was really, or this too has been on the menu from day one. We just got in there and started playing around, and we discovered that if you mix heavy cream and jelly, you get some kind of crazy sweet sauce. And so we did, and we're like, oh my God. And what I love, I'm a huge fan of sweet and salty combo.
Yes.
I love it. My palate is very much adept for that. And a lot of people's aren't, which is okay too. That's why we put it on the side.
Right.
But we like doing stuff like that,
I love that sandwich. It really just checks all the boxes for me. And again, I was even pleasantly surprised myself because I didn't think that that would be a
Yeah.
combination that I would particularly like, but I loved it. As
But
we
it's
get
not that sweet. I think that's
No,
why.
it's
Yeah, it's
really
not.
not. It's no,
Right,
it's not overly sweet, which is
right.
perfect.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure that this was from the day that I
yeah,
was there with my parents, because if there is gumbo on the menu, my dad is going to order it 99 to 100 times out of 100. This is the B-Town gumbo with shrimp, andouille sausage, okra, tomato, pepper, onion over rice with some cornbread on the side. This is what I was saying before. Just all the beautiful colors and the
yeah.
presentation of these dishes. I have enjoyed this myself as well. It's definitely one of my favorite gumbos. But in that same colorful category, I also want to talk
Yeah,
about. So this is probably one of the most popular ones, right?
this is
When
the
we're
tuna.
talking about salads,
Yeah,
more often, and of course, the day that I was there last week, you did have your. I want to say on the special that you call it. Is it the power salad? Is that what you got? What you
yeah,
call
the
it?
power salad.
Right.
Yeah,
And so the protein is going to vary on this sometimes. This
correct.
particular one that you see pictured is the seared tuna, which I mean, guys, if you want to, the picture doesn't almost doesn't even do it justice. But you order this salad and you get this big beautiful bowl. You know, as I said in the Seinfeld, right? You had to have the big salad. Right? This is a giant salad. You got all of like everything that you would expect, right? You got the slaw, you got the tomatoes, you get the hard-boiled egg, avocado, you got the edamame, which I think is a great addition to any salad. But then you add on the protein, which in this particular case on this day was the tuna. I know that that you've done it with shrimp. I know that you've done it with lobster, correct? I believe that's another
Yeah,
one that's been in there.
yep.
Um, I would say out of all of the things on the menu, this is probably, correct me if I'm wrong, one of the ones that is like a big time go to for people that come in there that want that want a really healthy, satisfying, you know, the perfect cure for an appetite for something that's like beautiful but also deliciously fresh as well, right?
Yeah, this came out of we started seeing years ago a tremendous amount of people coming in like on a business lunch. So the Cottage is relatively famous for when people close on their house, the realtor will bring the closer on the property to the Cottage and buy them lunch. And this has been like this silent phenomena that's been happening for years and years and years. I just
Really?
recently discovered, yes, that it's still going on. And a lot of times they'll meet with people at the Cottage if they're looking to buy a home in Bluffton.
Yeah.
So I started noticing that a lot of people were coming in that were dressed in like business wear, or it's not just the retiree or the visitor or the tourist or the beachgoer. It was like, oh my gosh, we're actually getting some business people. That's why I think our speed is so quick, because we really try to take care of those people that are in a time crunch.
Yeah.
And one of those things that I thought about was these people can't eat, something really heavy and go out and pretend like they have a brain. We need to give them something that's good protein and it's got these really great veggies in it. And right now with the power salad, we're actually featuring 3 proteins, generally all within the seafood genre. And people just love it. They just love it.
I've enjoyed it myself. I don't. It's not, salad is not something that I particularly go for that often. When I'm out there doing my thing for lunch or whatever. But let me tell you, any of these combinations, this one here has the shrimp with the fried green tomatoes on there. That's another one that's a big time winner in my opinion, especially when you incorporate the crispness of those tomatoes. I mean, they are just absolutely delicious. There's another one that I have on here that's got the chicken as the protein. I mean, the one thing that you can consistently see with this, guys, is, I mean, you are getting quite a bit of food, but just like Leslie said, it's not one of those meals that's going to weigh you down, right? Because of the freshness and the wholesomeness of the ingredients. I want to say that this is the shrimp, probably the shrimp burger, right?
This is going to be one of our specials that we run, the shrimp burger. Yeah.
Another one that's very popular.
That's good too. That's a really good one.
And that's a hard one, right? The shrimp
Yeah,
burger
it's
is one of the
really
ones that's
hard.
challenging because
Yeah.
it's hard to get it to retain its. I love when I talk about stuff like that, but I'm talking to the right person because you talk about how the research that you do for this. I love that I can use the term structural integrity when
Yes.
talking about a sandwich, but that's a tougher one, right? The shrimp is a tougher one.
The shrimp burger is really, really tough, mostly because you have to make sure the shrimp is, gets cooked when you're doing a thick burger like that.
Yeah.
And we've had, these are kind of tough because it's a very short shelf life. But this has been very popular, and this is something we'll probably try to bring back as it warms up a little bit.
A lot of these, but it's cool too because it creates that sort of anticipation. It's like, oh, they might not have this on this particular day, but chances are it's going to be coming back soon.
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong. This to me looks like a shrimp and grits situation.
This
right?
is shrimp and grits,
Yes.
correct.
And you got some mushrooms on there as well, I think, right?
Yep.
Some chives. I mean, does that not look like, I mean, somebody said, and I might actually have to do this. Somebody said when we were doing the soup thing, they said you should do a shrimp and grits thing, because really, if you think about it, almost every single establishment that offers shrimp and grits does it a slightly different way. So it might be limiting in terms of, obviously there's some restaurants that don't do shrimp and grits, but I just think that would be a cool thing because, like I said, that's something that everybody kind of does a little bit differently. Another one that I want to mention, we'll do some quick hitters here. This is when I was out with a couple of girlfriends, and one of them indulged in the burger.
That's it's
not something that you would think of to get at the at the Cottage, but this burger is outstanding. The nice soft bun. Obviously, you have that's cheddar. I want to say it's cheddar as well, right?
No, that's actually our pimento. I love it that it's all busting out. You can see the pimento in there. We make a house, a kind of a pretty southern pimento cheese on a regular basis, and we actually produce quite a bit of it. That's our pimento burger, and again, it's got fried greens on it too. Yeah, that's really good. That's a meal that might give you a little bit of a nap, but it's really beautiful.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So that's the homemade pimento cheese there, and then you're almost always going to have some sort of fish or shrimp special. On this particular day, this was shrimp tacos with mango, which was absolutely delicious. The other day, I jumped all over the special, which was cobia right, with shrimp and the mango. This didn't stand a chance, and then this wasn't the only thing that I got, and I didn't finish everything, but this one got finished because I was just this was so, like, you talk about the sweet and the saltiness. I'm a big mango guy. Like I just love anything mango. As we zoom in on this, I mean, this is beautiful fish. The shrimp was cooked perfectly, and then of course you have that nice combination of the mango with the onions and the peppers and everything like that. Absolutely delicious. And then what I also really enjoyed was and I've had a couple of interesting of these sort of combinations recently. One that I can think of is over at Flora and Fauna in Savannah. They have like a chicken Caesar, like a fried chicken Caesar sandwich. They put theirs on like a baguette. And so when I asked the server, I said, how's the chicken prepared in this? And I wanted it fried. I prefer, like, I'm a big chicken cutlet person to begin with. This wrap, it's hard for me to put in words. Just the combination of the texture of the crispiness of the chicken, and then the Caesar. I misspoke. I said to the server, I said, "Is there?" I felt like I tasted like a hint of lime, whatever it was. I couldn't quite put my finger on it. All I know is this Caesar dressing that you've concocted. It was like a punch in the mouth with the flavor of this. My wife lucked out because I only finished half of this, and I brought the other half back. And I said to her yesterday, the day before, I said, "You finished that?" And that was my intention. I wanted her to eat it, but a lot of times, my appetite is much, much larger than my wife. So sometimes if I don't remind her that there are certain leftovers and things like that in the fridge, she doesn't know that they're there. But this is another good one. This I feel like is more of a recent one.
We make all of our dressings in-house. And so the two that are the most difficult are the Caesar and the balsamic that we use as our default house dressing.
Yeah.
And this particular Caesar, I won a Good Food Award for. I've won several Good Food Awards, about 11 or 12 Good Food Awards for Juice Hive and for Cottage. And this one, this was a labor of love, because I detest pre-made bottled Caesar dressings. If you're going to do it authentic and you're going to honor where it came from, the origin of the recipe, which is very important to me, this became something that and my salad lady that's been with me for years and years, she is just the master of making the dressings. Like, she can never get out of her station. She's forever going to be on salads because she is consistent and her palate is great. And she's right up there with the way it needs to be. And it needs to have that citrusy punch at the end.
So there was citrus. I was right.
There is. There's lemon. Okay. There's lemon in there. Absolutely.
Oh, okay. It was lemon.
Right. So, you have to have that for contrast, for all the heaviness of everything else that's within the wrap.
Yeah. This was just delightful.
Yeah, this is a good one. And the color is phenomenal.
It really is.
Green is beautiful.
It really is.
You can barely see it, but it almost matches the tortilla.
Yes, 100%. Yeah. It was kind of like a spinach sort of wrap,
it looks
right?
very spinachy. Yeah, but correct.
I really love this. This was delicious. You talk about consistency. I was at Rocky's Deli over the weekend with my brother, and he said, I've had this. We've been here for X amount of years, and I've had this sandwich for years, and it always tastes exactly the same. Yeah. And he meant that in the most complimentary way possible.
Yeah.
And what it reminded me of, when my grandmother passed away a number of years ago, we were at the repast, and my uncle was speaking and giving kind of his speech, or whatever it was that you want to call it. And he said, he was talking to her about her in terms of her being like a mother and a cook and so on. My grandmother, my mom's mother, she did not have a diverse menu of things that she cooked, right? Mm-hmm. They were very specific. It was, Monday was chicken, and Tuesday was this, and Wednesday was the Italians. Sunday is not enough for the pasta. We also have to have it on a Wednesday or a Thursday or whatever it was. Whatever it was, those 5 or 6 meals that she made, the precision with which she prepared them, where they tasted exactly the same every single time. And that is, when people come to a place, nothing is more disappointing than when you say, okay, I went to the Cottage and I had this particular salad, and for some reason this time it tasted completely different. Now, I'm all for making new things and changing, but when you have something that is iconic and as popular as some of these menu items are, it's extremely important that it has that consistency.
Well, consistency is the key across the board for that's one of the facets of a restaurant. Consistency is key. And it's very difficult with all the other issues we have going on. And certainly we started to see that during COVID. Everything started to go up and down because it was just that time of year. But consistency is really the factor. And it actually is, it's binding in the beginning, right? It's difficult in the beginning, but actually once you understand why the consistency needs to be there, it becomes very freeing for the employee or for the creator, because it's like, look, just do it the same way every time.
Yeah.
And it's freeing, and then you can get quicker at it, and then you can move on to the next prep,
And now you're being efficiency, and now we're moving tops as fast as we need to in a place like this, where people know chances are on a beautiful day on a Thursday, we're going to be waiting a couple of minutes for a table. But when we sit down and we order, this is going to be not too quick. This is not a fast food joint, but we're moving in quick, because
I got to tell you, they stick to that ticket time I set many, many years ago, so. We know what we're doing over there.
They are certainly a well-oiled machine. Mm-hmm. I always have to, I can't go to your restaurant without enjoying one of the Bloody Marys. I'm a big pickle guy, regardless of what my friend Tyler has to say disparaging about pickles. I love the dilly Bloody Mary is my favorite. You get all the nice accoutrements on there with the gherkin and the olive and everything. A nice lemon and lime wedge. Absolutely delightful to enjoy with the sandwiches. And we talked at the top about the bakery aspect of things, and that's also where, so after I had lunch, I popped in because I wanted to just grab a couple of, as you were talking about before, the how you have these classic display cases for the bakery.
Oh yeah.
So it's one of the things when you go to the Cottage. I'm going to give you the pro tip here, guys. You have to save room for desserts, whether it's a piece of cake.
Yeah.
This was the arsenal that you had available. That peanut butter pie. Oh my goodness. This is just hit after hit after hit. The lemon raspberry, the pistachio, the apple pie, the marble pecan bundt, the bourbon pecan. That's I guess, would you call that a pie? That's a pie, right?
Yeah, it's a deep dish deal.
Yeah. And then the carrot bundt cake. And again, that's not even getting into this entire other spread of bars and tarts and muffins. Talk just a little bit about, and this is a good thing to mention also, because you have your brunch, but then you also have, like you said, you have your high tea, which you can get like sandwiches and stuff like that with it. But these dessert items, these bakery items, are an extremely big part of what you guys are doing at the Cottage.
Yeah, so it's always the intention was always to do, just like the logo says, it's a cafe, bakery, and tea room, because in that first visual I had when I looked at the porch, I couldn't help but think about, people need to be sitting out here enjoying the sunshine, enjoying the breeze, enjoying the smells of the May River coming up, Calhoun Street. And they need to be able to have whatever they want. It doesn't have to be a full meal. It could just be a scone and a pot of tea. It could be high tea. And that was really important to me. And the variety is also very important to me, that there's always constantly new stuff, I'm the baker right now, so it's kind of tough. So we are supplementing some of our bakery items, and we generally tend to buy those out of Europe from some of our purveyors because they are exquisite. But I think it's kind of like the best part of a meal is, for me, is either the appetizer or the dessert. Kind of in between is kind of whatever you're digging that day. But that little starter and that little finisher, everything comes full circle when you've enjoyed a good meal. And that's why we try to keep a really nice variety. And our cakes are just off the chain. Like, we can't even keep up with the cakes and the pies. It's just like, oh my gosh. And some of them, we're baking them 2 or 3 times a week, like the pistachio, the coconut. Those are just, my staff finally said to me, hey, can you do something different this year? Can you just put in 4 versions of a pistachio cake? And I did it the other day, and literally I think I put out 3 versions of a pistachio cake. And at the end of the day, there was no pistachio cake.
3 different ones. It doesn't matter what
kind of icing you put on it, if they just want the pistachio cake, Yeah. And I was like, well, this is a brilliant model, because this is going to make my life a lot easier. Same thing with coconut. Put out 3 coconut cakes, just make them slightly different. And I did it. And it was like, oh my God, you guys are brilliant. And it really helps, like on labor.
You're saying just a slight nuance difference between them.
Slight nuance difference. So our favorite, and a lot of these nuances came out of a mistake, right?
Okay.
So when you're dealing with like buttercream icing, you can have several versions of a buttercream. You can have a straight buttercream, you can have a lemon buttercream, an orange buttercream, and a coconut buttercream. And unless you're going to use food coloring, which we generally don't do, you're going to have all white icing, right?
Yeah.
So like a few years ago, chef made a mistake, and he started making pistachio cake with coconut icing. And I was like, what's happening with this? Because we always do pistachio icing on pistachio cake.
Yeah.
And one day I walk in and I see this white icing on a pistachio, and I go, what happened? He goes, I didn't have any pistachio. We have this Sicilian pistachio stuff we buy. It's excruciatingly expensive. And I said, well, what is this? And he goes, I'm not sure. I think it's vanilla buttercream. And it started going off the shelf, right? And then the customers were like, what was that icing? And I was like, I don't know. Let me taste it. And I looked at my chef and I went, dude, this is a coconut icing. And I said, but it was really popular. So we keep that one. We keep we do a chocolate pistachio. We do a lemon pistachio, off the chain, because the lemon pumps the pistachio. Like, these are all these things that you would only, I'm not a trained baker, right?
Yeah.
I'm not a trained chef. So it's like, these are by discovery, right? From just, being in a hurry and just slapping something on something and going, oh, this tastes really good.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, peach and pistachio is one of our summer ones that are like, what is going on here? So that's what the staff said. They're like, I said, I can't make pistachio cakes fast enough. So that's what we're doing now. So if you come in and see all these pistachio cakes, they're all slightly different.
I might have to just try them all.
Yeah, yeah.
On this particular day that I was there with my parents, you guys had like, I think it was like a lemon lime cake
All
or
right, so
something
this
like
is
that.
a total like me getting crazy jiggy. I
What?
was probably exhausted. This is a swirl cake of pistachio and lemon.
That's
So
what it was.
I had the two batters. I was probably so sick of making cakes that I just said, oh, let me just finish this up. And I threw them in a pan and I swirled it. This is super popular too.
This was
And again,
awesome.
this is a pistachio with a lemon, and that's probably a vanilla buttercream in there to smooth it all out, you know?
Such a beautiful
Beautiful, right?
colors
The
and
colors,
like and
these are
like like
colors.
I can't even begin to describe. Like I'm
Yeah.
gonna zoom. I'm gonna get really really in tight on this because this was the most moist piece of cake
Yeah.
that I might have ever had in my life. I mean,
Yeah.
don't get me wrong, the ice, I love icing. Everybody who doesn't love
Yeah.
icing, but this cake would have actually stood on its own without any icing. That's how
Right.
beautifully moist this cake was. And the combination of, I'm
Yeah.
glad that I put it on because we were just talking about the pistachio, the combination of the pistachio and which is probably what gives it that green, that beautiful green
It
color
is. It's
too,
that
right?
taste. Yes.
What an
Insane taste.
incredible concoction. You are
Yeah.
an evil genius, even though some
Yeah.
of this
Yeah.
stuff, like you said, might happen accidentally. There are some mistakes that are beautiful at the end of the day, right?
Yeah.
I love it. We also had I should bring a couple of these up. We had a couple of these in there. These are in that other case.
This is my grandmother's recipe.
Oh, okay.
Those are okay. So then my grandmother, she made she was a great baker and she was a great cook. And this is from her little town in Italy. These are, we call them pecan balls. They're also known as wedding cookies. And we actually make these. Yeah, we actually make these for Pasta Shop and for Cottage. And these originally, I wanted to do this just to honor my grandmother, just like her chocolate cake. We honor her for that. There's some recipes that were passed down that I'll forever do because they were her. And I always have that pleasure and privilege of thinking of her when we're making it.
Yes.
But these are really great. And this originally started off as being something I wanted to present with the teas.
Yeah.
Because this is a phenomenal cookie when you're experiencing tea or coffee. You know, it's just a really lovely, and that's one of the great things, you know, when you talk about your grandmother and all that, it's really nice because those recipes that you love the best are the ones that are the most important to keep alive and, you know, maybe tweak and turn them around and do something different. But forever, as you're doing it, there's no way you could never not think about that person that first introduced that to you.
Absolutely.
You know, and that's really, really important for me. Really important. The legacy of some of these recipes. And that's how the chef ambassador thing really came full circle.
I'm glad that you mentioned that because I got so enamored with all of this food. And just real quick before we get to that, this is the afternoon tea menu, so you can get, you know, you have your there's a couple different categories, but you're going to get some sandwiches, you're going to get some treats, you're going to get some tea as well, of course, some fresh fruit. This is a really cool, we talk about experiences a lot. This is something that's really cool that I highly suggest that you guys check out at the Cottage.
Yes,
but you mentioned the ambassador. I wanted to talk to you about that because that's something that Chris and I talked about offline that I'm not very familiar with. So talk to everybody about you were the 2024 Chef Ambassador. And if you go on YouTube, right on the website, there's a whole video about it. But tell us about this program and what this means to you.
So this program is phenomenal. And I was super surprised and super honored to be a part of it last year. It was just, I didn't really know about it fully. And then when I started really getting in and doing the training and learning from them and meeting with them. So basically the short version of it is that the Chef Ambassador program, last year was the 10th year anniversary of this particular program. And it's basically a liaison between the Department of Agriculture, Tourism Board, the Tourism Department of State of South Carolina, and the different counties and the chefs in these in the state of South Carolina. You have to be nominated by someone, and then I believe it goes to a vote. The long and short of it is that that this is this year's right here, the 2025s. The long and short of it is that they created this program Oh, there we are. There they are. This was weird. It was just a wild ride for the whole year. And I have to tell you, working with Department of Agriculture and the Tourism Board was absolutely phenomenal and gave me a whole new sense of love and dedication to the state of South Carolina. The long and short of it is basically that, South Carolina has really grown in its agriculture. And one of the roles of the chef ambassador is to take Southern recipes, preferably Southern recipes, and to take them utilizing all of the Southern South Carolinian agriculture that we have at our disposal and putting it out there for people with the history of the recipe, but honoring these farmers and letting and educating the public to know that fresh on the menu, which is a classification you can get in the state of South Carolina, is where you're utilizing local produce, local fruits, and you're supporting these farmers that are within the state of South Carolina. And South Carolina has got a lot going on, between rice, nuts, fruits, vegetables, heirloom. And so this program is really about that. And then we went around and we did different events, larger events, like in Charleston. We did Charleston Wine and Food. We did Greenville's Euphoria. And we're with all these other chefs and all these other great local restaurant owners and business owners. And everyone is there supporting the same thing, which is South Carolina. Look at what we've got, and it's just been it was just a phenomenal experience. The people, what they do with what they have, how they support the farmers. One of the very first events I did, I got to go to Charleston with the Lee brothers and we did a cooking demo. And I got to bring my farmer with me, what are the farmers I use? And so I had Larry Tootin come from Tootin Farms. Cool. He was on stage with me and I can't remember what I did, but it was like something using his fruit, probably something with strawberries at that time, and they're videotaping it. And there's this big tent with all these people that are like locals and visitors to South Carolina and people from other counties in South Carolina that are coming because they want to be a part of this.
Yeah.
And it was just really absolutely amazing. A lot of hard work, but really amazing. And the connections between the other restaurants and other people that are doing this, especially the smaller restaurants, not the bigger chains where you have more freedom, right? And you can take more risks without, it's that's just a whole nother conversation. But, we have the freedom as a smaller restaurant, as a mom and pop shop, I guess, if you want to call that, where we can take the risks and we can try stuff. And certainly with the longevity behind us, we can certainly ask the customer for help. And we just got so much feedback, and people just loving it, especially coming from Bluffton. The last chef was years ago. Orchid was one and Brandon was one, years ago. So it was really nice to represent Bluffton because, as everyone knows, it's really changing.
Oh, yeah.
And that representation needs to be out there to keep us in the loop as far as South Carolina goes as a growing state and a superb state,
Absolutely. I love the local spotlight. I love the idea of using local ingredients and things like that. I see that they have 2025 included Shu Ai Wang, who is another one of my favorites. He was a very popular recent appearances on one of the chef cooking shows. There's so many of them, I can't remember the exact name of it, but he's the one that is the chef at Jackrabbit Philly, which I haven't gotten up to Charleston too many times, and I need to get back up there because I haven't been to their newer location. I know they have that one, and then they also have, I think, King Barbecue is the one. So guys, if you want to go check this out, just go to discoversouthcarolina.com and you'll see.
Can I say one more thing about this?
Please
before I forget, when they go online and they're looking, they should really, a beautiful thing is they do videos for each of the chef ambassadors.
Yes.
And over the last 10 years, you can pretty much look at all of them. And what the really cool part of this is when we got ready to do our video, we got to choose our item. And so they basically have a list. Like, some people came in knowing what they wanted to do, and then they had a list. And I could not believe, sitting in this meeting, that of the list of 5 things, grits and shrimp were left. And I said, oh my God, are you telling me that is available? And she's like, yes. And I said, I'm absolutely doing it. And I got to pair up with Marsh Hen Mill.
Oh, yeah.
Telling you,
that's the good stuff.
Rock star of what they're doing up there. And you'll see it in the video where I get to go tour their whole grounds, and I get to be in their facility, and all of these chef ambassadors video. The quality of the video is stellar. and to hear they were so beautiful in their interview process because they really were able to evoke, sometimes we can't really connect like what we're feeling with our brain, right?
Yeah.
But some of the questions they asked and the way that they led it and the way that it was just, you were able to speak from exactly how you feel about making these iconic heirloom South Carolina recipes, that are there. And that was really one of the highlights of the whole thing. That's why I have so many shrimp and grits on my menu, because as I continue to work on that, and the more research I do deep in South Carolina, from the very simple shrimp and grits to the more elaborate ones we do now, which is the dedication to the May River, which includes May River oysters, May River crab, and May River shrimp. That's kind of our agenda right now at Cottage, is to put some of these iconic heirloom recipes that are indigenous way back when, right? It goes all the way back. Taking some of those and reformulating them and putting them on the menu to keep the history alive of what this culinary scene is in South Carolina, which is way more than people think. And it it can go further. It's just, we have to do it. That's all.
Right. Exactly. I think you and we need to schedule another one of these where we dive deeper into this, because this is something that I'm not that familiar with at all until Kristen mentioned it. And now that I'm here on the website, which, guys, make it easier for yourselves. Just type in Chef Ambassador Program. It's the first link that'll pop up. Like
some of the videos will make you cry. It is, and some of these chefs are just so dedicated, and it's really overwhelmingly beautiful.
They really are incredible. And another thing that they do have on here that's cool is they actually have a whole map situation where you can go on this and you can kind of, play around here and you can zoom in, look at all these different locations. We're obviously down here in this little cluster down here, but these are all the locations throughout the state of South Carolina that participate in, or that have been selected for something like this. And then what's cool is I just found this, and I'll just whip through it very quickly, but they have this Chef Ambassadors, follow this trail to great dining.
This is so cool.
It's really cool. I see Saltus is on here. You mentioned Orchid, One Hot Mamas. That was 2016. We have, of course, a couple up that are up in Charleston. We have Farm on here. You mentioned Brandon. There's a lot of good stuff. This is a pretty incredible resource. Cottage. There you are. There's Cottage. There's Juice Hive. There's May River. There's Bluffton Pasta Shop, which I think is also, that's there you have Jackrabbit Philly. There you go. 2025 King Barbecue. I was right. So this is the perfect segue in, and we're running a little bit over an hour. I don't want to take up too much of your time, but there's a couple things I want to hit before I let you go.
Sure.
So we talked about the Italian traditions. You talked about the wedding cookies, the nut balls, as my family would call them, which is appropriate because my family is a bunch of nuts. One year, when you talk about the ingredients, I have this funny story where one year my grandmother made the grandma cookies with the icing and the sprinkles and things like that, and we're all sitting around the table and everybody's giving each other these looks. Grandma was getting a little bit up there, and I think on that particular day she might have used a little bit too much, or she might have forgotten that she already put in the baking soda. Whatever it was, these cookies had this weird thing where they just sucked all the moisture out of your mouth. And we felt bad because, the grandma cookies, my grandma, we call her Grandma Nancy, Nunziata, as it would be in Italian. We always had a lot of fun with her, with that kind of stuff. But on this particular day, we had to kind of keep it hush-hush because we didn't want her to feel bad. But there was definitely some oversight in there. And that's what was shocking about it, because we talked about the consistency of that type of stuff. So I always thought that was pretty funny. But when we talk about that specific tradition and that specifically in the Italian culture. So I told you, when my parents moved here, they actually stayed with us for about 4 months or so before they moved into, because they had a bunch of renovations and things that they needed to do. And I can honestly tell you, without exaggerating, that there was a lot of times, because I got here and I was hitting the ground running, full force to try to build my mortgage business. We were just very busy. those first handful of months. And I would say, no exaggeration, there was probably sitting at the dining room table with my wife and my parents, who I love dearly, but when you move into your brand new house and your parents are living with you, it got a little interesting at times. But the one thing that was the highlight for me, and of course I said to my mom, I said, you can stay here as long as you want. That's what we're here for. That's what family is for. Get whatever it is that you need to get done. A lot of the dinners that we had, and everybody was coming and going and back and forth to the house and running around, and like I was to all these different real estate offices, we enjoyed quite a few meals from, at the time it was called the Village Pasta Shop. Now it's called the Bluffton Pasta Shop, right? So the this, because I moved here in 2021. Talk about because this is okay, so this is a slightly different concept. You're not going to go to the Bluffton Pasta Shop and sit down and have a meal. Correct. But what you're going to do is you're going to get whatever it is that you could possibly think of, pastas, meals that are frozen that you can bring home and you can reheat them, put them in the oven, and enjoy this stuff. You have incredible breads there, and then you have, I mentioned my brothers-in-law with the cheese shop up in Biddeford. They're very big with the specialty food products. So talk a little bit about, because that is honestly, I don't want to say it's a void. I mean, the Bluffton Pasta Shop fills the void. Yeah. But for people that come up specifically from the Northeast, that come from Italian descendancy and are looking for certain stuff like this, that maybe it's stuff that they need, that they want to make some of these dishes at home, or maybe it's something as easy enough as they just want to stick this in the oven for 20 minutes, half hour, whatever it is, to warm it up for the family. This is a big deal to have access to these Italian delicacies right in Bluffton Village, is what that little area is called, right? I was correct. Okay, perfect.
Right. So Bluffton Village is over there where the post office is.
Yes.
It's also on the way to the library. Okay. So the Bluffton Pasta Shop came about. Connie used to be the previous owner when it was called Village Pasta Shop. And her model was very simple. It was mostly take and bake foods, and she had some retail, and she had the bread. Yeah. When the opportunity presented itself to me, I said, oh my God, I need another business, like a hole in the head. It's like and then I went to work with her. I said, okay, let me do this. Let me come and work for you for a few weeks, and let me get a vibe on what you're doing, and let me get a vibe on your clientele. And so we did. And, she taught me her sauce recipe. And she showed, and basically what I saw over the course of those weeks was how her consistency and her extremely high level of integrity on her ingredients is really the key here, right? Because we've all had lots of bad Italian. Okay, so that's the tip right here.
Yeah.
So and then she had wines, and then she had some provisions, but nothing crazy. Yeah. She was basically working it kind of by herself, and she was the original golf club maker. She was doing golf club lessons.
Really?
Anyway, long story short, so I said, okay, you know what? I'm going to do it. And what I really loved about it was not only within the group of restaurants, it was a different model. And it was also coming out of COVID. I was like, where was this during COVID? Right, man, because I would have been all over this shop and I didn't know it was there. I mean, even though I had the juice hive, I was friendly with her, but it didn't dawn on me. But I said, this opportunity is huge, because we are now seeing, of course, a huge influx of the demographic changing from New York and New Jersey and the upper and the Northeast, right now. A lot of people are moving down here. And so we've had a ton of new people coming. I just moved here and I heard about the pasta shop. But mostly it was to be able to tap into my Italian roots, because I'm half Italian. Yep. And I was fortunate enough when I was little to live in Italy for several years. And so, I have vivid memories of those Sunday meals with my grandfather and my grandmother, learning these techniques that my mother she doesn't cook anymore, my mom, but she, still to this day, it was the same thing. It's like if you watch that movie Nonnas, exactly how that scene is with the mother, grandmother, and the young movie, kid. Right? It's exactly
the Vince Vaughn one.
Yeah, the Vince Vaughn. Yeah. And it was exactly like that. And I said, you know what? This is a really nice model that fit in with everything else. But I said, and back then we didn't have as many Italian restaurants. We're already in our third year. We didn't have that many Italian restaurants in Bluffton.
No.
Now we got a lot of Italian restaurants. But this was like a real opportunity for me to go back to my roots, to discover some of the stuff that I love to do within the model of what that restaurant is. Believe me, if we could serve food there, we would.
Yeah.
You know, if I could have double the space, I could easily double that. I would love to have a deli over there. It's just a really small, really tiny space, but it's got so many more provisions. It's got everything you need to be able to make fresh pasta. We have it. It's 99% of it is imported from Italy.
Yeah.
I have several different platforms that I use to order this stuff. It's a little tough right now because of what's going on over there with the tariffs and stuff. So in order to not like, you know, have that really high, you know, $20 bag of flour that's a pound, you know, we're kind of taking it easy right now till things calm down. But and the recipes, again, I go back to, I do a lot of research on my recipes. They're as authentic as I've ever had. And we have had really, really nice results. You know, people are really coming back and saying, man, that marsala is slamming, you know, and we're very conservative about what we do. We offer 2 sizes for the single person. There's my mama. You know, there's mom. Oh,
I love
such a great. She was there that day showing me the sauce again. Let me show you a couple pointers, she said. I was like, all right, take it easy, lady. She's great. She's awesome.
I love it.
Yeah, she's great. You know, but it's just a really nice little venue. Basically it's a come and take everything you need for a full meal. And it's just lovely.
I love how you have the wine pairings. I love how you have the recipes. There's some gelato there. The monthly dish.
Yeah.
I see a lot of smiling faces coming in and out of there. I got to circle back there and try some of this newer stuff that you guys have. I saw there was some lobster and ravioli on there and a bunch of different
phenomenal.
stuff.
And I'm going to be honest about this. We love to support other people that are doing artesian foods. Yeah. So we get all of our fresh cut pasta and all of our ravioli from Rio Bertolini in Charleston because they are the king and queen. And that's the only place you're going to get it. And they're phenomenal. And I'll tell you this, when people walk into the pasta shop, I will tell you 99.9% will say, oh my God, it smells like my mother's house.
It does.
Because we are constantly making sauce. Yeah. And that sauce just fills that room. And people come in, and I've even had customers stand there and start to cry. My grandmother just died. And they'll just sit there and cry because there is the strongest sense that we have that will kick in your memory is your sense of smell.
Yes.
And we see this all the time.
Smells like grandma's house on a Sunday afternoon.
Grandma's house on a Sunday. Yep.
Yeah. Those are some of my greatest memories from my childhood, congregating at grandma's house for the macaroni with the sauce and the meatballs and all this other kind of stuff. Yep. I love this place, guys. If you are into Italian food, if you're into pasta, if you're into the marsalas and all this beautiful stuff and wine and Italian specialty foods and things like that, they have some really nice like jarred sauces too. Yep. I had a really nice Alfredo one time. You got some incredible cheeses and meats. My brothers-in-law at one of the biggest parts of their business has been the charcuterie platters. If you give Bluffton Pasta Shop some lead time, they'll put together some excellent stuff for you on the catering. And this is consistently up there as far as nominations and whatnot for best Italian food and best catering in the Bluffton area. So you guys want to go check that out. Like Leslie said, it's in the Bluffton Village right there, kind of like if you're pulling in there and you have Craft Kitchen on the left side before you get to Joe's Classic Cuts, closer towards the end of the street where you would make the right to get to the library. That whole strip there that's where Bluffton Pasta Shop is. And I'll be honest, it's not that I am not into healthy food. I am from time to time. But there is also another one of your businesses in here that is tremendously popular in Bluffton as well. That's two or three doors down from the Bluffton Pasta Shop, which is the Juice Hive. So when did this come into the picture? And this is another one that really checks a box that's really important for those who are more health conscious and whatnot, in terms of, not just, lunches and foods and salads and things like that, but also a lot of cold pressed juices and smoothies and things like that.
Yeah, so Juice Hive came about 6 years after the Cottage. I had already had the information that I wanted to do something like this, but it just wasn't the right time. And unfortunately, the event that happened that really pushed me to begin the process of beginning to open it was some very good customers of mine from the Jazz Corner were coming. They were regulars at the Cottage, and she had been recently diagnosed with super aggressive cancer. And I just said, oh my God, I wish I could press you some juice right now. You know, I've always been, from when I lived in New York City, I started to press, to do fresh juice in my house. That's when Jack LaLanne was on there, and I just really got into it. And it has always been a remarkable asset to healthy living for me. And there was nothing around here where anyone was really doing that. And so, this was a big leap of faith, because not only do we operate under a HACCP plan for the South of South Carolina because of the pressed juice, that machine we have that presses the juice is extremely expensive. And, but it is a game changer, right?
Yeah.
So smoothies have a function and pressed juice have a function. Both are different functions. So if anyone needs to get their health on, or kind of come back to where, especially after the holidays, kind of come back to center and give your body a chance to, level out a little bit, this is where we do it. So everything in this shop is geared towards health and wellness. The menu has been tweaked over the years to make it very simple, to keep everything more or less alkaline as opposed to acidic. We don't really do any kind of hot production because we want everything to retain its integrity of those ingredients that we're using. There's a lady getting our green juice. We do a 7 green juice, really popular. We sell cleanses. We're about to start delivery. In fact, we started it. So we're doing delivery through Chow Now. We do a tremendous amount of orders of people picking up via Chow Now there. We've got all kinds of healthy snacks. We do all kinds of vitamins and supplements and things that, like, it's overwhelming, right? It's overwhelming to have to do all of this stuff to keep ourselves healthy. So I try to pick the best of the best and keep it really like for the general population. Like, you need a probiotic, see if we have a probiotic. You need to do your hair and nails and get that stuff moving and growing. Go over there. I got a thing for that. Elderberry. Everyone needs elderberry, in the wintertime. So I've got 10 different kinds of elderberry out there.
Yeah.
And then the snacks are the biggest part, because where people fail in their health journey is when they get hungry and they start to eat the wrong thing. So we have this huge line of snacks and treats, some that we make in house and some that we buy, that are available for those moments when you need to eat something and you're in your car and all you have is a dreadful muffin from 2 days ago, right? You're going to go get some of that stuff. And then we have a really cute little emporium side over there. The staff is phenomenal. They are quick. They are knowledgeable. They can help you. There they are. They can help you with whatever you need. The smoothies are off the chain. The smoothie, I'm telling you, is a meal replacement.
Yeah.
Okay. It's a meal replacement. I try to change the smoothie menu maybe every 6 months, but this particular menu we're running right now is just the best ever. And we cross-utilize our cold pressed juice in some of our smoothies. So you're getting the benefit of that. They all have boosters in them. Meaning that we add things in that the body needs, like magnesium, let's say, or if you need an iron boost, or if you need to get some, whatever, we've got it there. The list of boosters is pretty substantial.
Yeah.
And we have a frequent card. So when you come in and you want to get on your cold press and you want to get your smoothie on, make sure you ask for the Buzz Club card, because your 10th one is forever free. And that program's been going on forever. And it's just great. It's just a great place. It's a beautiful location. It's very airy. We've got outdoor seating. We've got indoor seating, bar seating. It's just a really great way to start that journey, one smoothie at a time. That's it. That's all I got to say about that.
I've enjoyed several of the smoothies. I've enjoyed a couple of the salads and the wraps and whatnot. Again, not something that I do that often. And I just want to stop and just say this for 1 second, because we talked about this before we went live and whatever. I've heard a couple of comments here and there about, about how much a smoothie costs. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to just stop you guys right there. The reason why the price tag on these is what it is exactly what Leslie was just talking about. The amount of time and effort and the number of highest of the high quality ingredients that goes into these things. It's one of those things where you get what you pay for. Okay. You want to go to, and I'm not going to name names, but franchises, chains, you want to go to blah, blah smoothie or this or that or whatever. Those are not, we're not having the same conversation if we're talking about those versus this. And it doesn't mean that some of them don't do things right, but there is a tremendous amount of attention that is spent on the ingredients that go into these things. So, and just like we've talked about food costs, there's a lot of misunderstanding about what involves that stuff. If you as a business are going to go out and you are going to get the very best ingredients, and you are the type of person that cares a lot about what's going into your body, then there's a price tag that's associated with that. You wouldn't complain, if you went out and you had a wholesome meal that included all of the ingredients that are being blended into this 16 or 24 ounce or whatever cup that it is. But if you change the way that you're thinking about it and you realize that, oh no, I might not have complained about a salad that was $15 or $20. Well, then guess what? If you're talking about a smoothie that's whatever, $10, $11, $12, think about the fact of all the things that you saw in that particular dish or in that salad. A lot of that, in including a lot of the nutrients and everything that's incorporated into that, there is a cost associated with that. So you are getting more than your money's worth when you consider the quality of the ingredients that are going into it, and then also this extra special care that is being given by the person or people on the team at Juice Hive that are preparing this stuff. I just wanted to make a note of that.
I'll just make a comment on that as well, is that I understand the health journey, right? As someone who was overweight most of my entire adult life and in my childhood, when I sat down to craft these recipes, again, it goes back for me, I'm a research hog. Like I love to do research. When I started looking at some of these ingredients that are going in there and some of the effects that they have, yes, of course, you need to have a little more consistent use. Some of that stuff right now, to outsource that stuff is so ridiculous, like cacao nibs right now with the crisis of cacao happening in South America. If anyone knew what I just paid for a case of cacao nibs, I could probably start a GoFundMe. It's no joke what's going on out there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I understand it. And every one of those recipes, and we've got a lot of literature over there on those boosters, on those items that are in the smoothie. If you don't know what it is, ask for the big laminated sheet that defines that particular herb and that particular function of that. And everyone knows herbs you have to take on a consistent level to see the benefit of that. But those smoothies it is a meal replacement, and it's going to benefit you in the long time. And it's just, it is very tragic what's happening across the board. And we go out to eat a lot. The price has to go up or it will fail. Yes. And we try to do it as small as we can, but it is a crisis everywhere right now. And it's especially really scary for the really small business owner because we don't have the buffer of the larger corporation.
You're right.
So and I apologize for that. It is an evil necessity at this time, but I guarantee you the value, what you're going to get for some of the pricing. And I'm not just speaking for myself because I frequent several places a lot during the week. Yeah. And I will only go when I know the value is there. And it's just hopefully this begins to change.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's a big issue right now, but
it really is.
All we're saying, guys, is just do a little bit of your homework before you start balking about prices. Like Leslie said, you can very easily say, we can very easily find out what is going into that stuff so that you know what you're paying for and is always going to be of the utmost quality. All right, I'm going to let you go in a couple minutes real quick. I just want to do a minute or two on May River Coffee Roasters. That was your contribution to the prize for the soup de tour. The winner got a bag of, this was funny. They got a bag of your coffee. They got the coffee mug. And then you gave a candy cane. Did you catch this? Did you catch what happened?
Candy canes I was sitting on. I was like, let me get rid of some of these.
Yeah, well, you got rid of it. And then when I went to go meet Amber to give her the gift basket, the candy cane was missing. And it was because my devilish little kitten, Ronan, took it out of the basket. Even though the basket was covered, I had like a pillowcase or something covering it. I noticed that it was a little askew. He took the candy cane, and I was missing the candy cane, and I was also missing my little phone adapter for my cell phone, which is nearing the end of its useful life. And I said to my wife, I couldn't wait anymore. I was running late already. I had to leave. Keep an eye out for, because this is what he'll do. He will take things and he will hide them. He'll hide them in the dog's bed. He takes the little rubber caps off of the door stoppers all over the house. We find them. It's like here he comes up to my desk here that's got trinkets galore. and it's like a treasure trove for him. So I actually have to go back, and it's fine because I actually had to go get the Rockies gift card as well because I forgot about that when I was out there before I met Amber. So I have to get back together with her. We made a deal. I bought some Girl Scout cookies. I'm going to meet up with her. I'm going to get my Girl Scout cookies, and I'm going to give her belated candy cane and Rockies gift card. So that was kind of funny. But just give us a minute or two on May River Coffee Roasters, which is available at the Cottage. This is not a brick and mortar business. This is a micro roastery that is in Bluffton, roasting small batches of coffee for you coffee aficionados.
So May River Coffee Roasters came out of my frustration with, and this is years ago now, right? Like 16 years ago. I would say 5 years into the Cottage, I put myself through coffee school. It came out of a frustration of the quality of coffee that we were able to purchase. I was always buying from roasters, like out of, Charleston or Greenville or whatever. Because a lot of the big shops, their coffee is just always ground and it really degrades fast. So I was really frustrated with that. And I've always wanted to, that was on my bucket list, going to coffee school to learn how to roast coffee. So I went up and I put myself through school, and then I bought myself a little roaster and I started roasting, and it absolutely took off because, if you understand coffee roasting, there are different profiles. And I felt like, as a connoisseur of coffee, I particularly like dark roast coffee.
Yeah.
But I do like medium and blondes, but a lot of times those are so highly acidic because they're not roasted properly. And there's a way to do that where a lot of that acidity can come out. So I just wanted to create something where it was an alternative from the big box stores. We're kind of in a transition right now, so the website's not really working, but we are producing right now the top coffees that we have, which is 2 of our medium roasts, and our dark roast, which is the most popular by far, is the Bluffton State of Mind. Although we have several ones. So we're hoping by middle or end of this year, we can get everything back up and running and start producing more of the blends. Each of the blends is handcrafted with multiple beans. I generally tend to use 3 or 4 different countries in my blends.
Yeah.
And that's another issue right now. Coffee is at an all-time high. And this artwork was created by one of the team members, and we just love it. And every title name is named out of something that came to me from Bluffton in order to honor Bluffton and keep Bluffton moving forward. I
love this. I wouldn't say I'm one of these coffee connoisseurs. My wife definitely is.
Yeah.
I mean, I drink a cup of coffee every morning, but I'm gonna have to explore some of this stuff as well. These are great gifts, guys, as well. So just keep that in mind. Again, May River Coffee Roasters, you can pick those up at the Cottage.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So we're after 11 o'clock. We're running up on an hour and a half. I'm going to let you go. But before that, you just mentioned that you almost every day you frequent other businesses, and you're a big supporter, which is what we love in this area. I feel like there's not enough of that. There's definitely more over here than in other somewhat near parts of South Carolina and Georgia, but I like how there's a lot of there's beginning to be some more collaboration, but there's definitely a lot of like support and among the owners of these type of places. I always like to kind of close it out with what are a couple of things that you particularly enjoy or have enjoyed recently, or even if it's opened up to something that has caught your eye that you're very excited to try.
Let's see. So we recently discovered, am I allowed to say the name?
Yes, absolutely.
Oh, okay.
Please.
Not recently, I would say maybe a few months ago, we recently discovered a new pizza place, La Pizzeria.
Yes.
Which is over there by the outlet mall, and very much in the style of New York, as I remember, New York pizza.
Yeah.
And that's been really, really nice. We also really are digging the Spanish restaurant over by the Food Lion.
I know what you're talking about. This is I gotta tell you, it's pretty slamming. It feels really authentic in there. I've never had a bad meal. So we've been enjoying that quite a bit. And let's see. This is the one that used to be Mi Tierrita.
Yeah, it used to be Mi Tierrita.
Yeah, but it begins with it's Cantaritos. Cantaritos Mexican Kitchen.
Yeah.
I've heard very good things about this.
Very, very, very great pricing and very large portions. And really, I have to say, pretty good service and delicious.
Awesome.
And we have a couple places on Hilton Head we'd like to go. You mentioned that House of Jerky. I'm all over that like white on rice. So
Oh,
I'll
yeah?
be hitting that. Yeah, love jerky. So I
Okay.
think I'm going to be headed over there. And we do like to frequent some of the newer places that are on Hilton Head that we really don't get over to very much. So we're going
Yes.
to be doing that.
Hilton Head, there's more. I've experienced most of the restaurants in Hilton Head. I do go over to Savannah quite a bit because I'm kind of on that
Yep.
that particular side of town. But yeah, there's we have a lot of new stuff that's popping up, which is great. You know, you always hate to see when stuff goes away
Yeah.
for various reasons. But the good
Yeah.
news is that something is. I just had it come up in my memories.
Yeah.
And I didn't know what I didn't. Sometimes the memories come up on Facebook, and I don't know what I was referring to. But I said everybody's getting bent out of shape about PRs, and then like they need to kind of just sit tight and see what's coming because they're going to be very excited. And then I momentarily forgot what I was referring to, and then I went a little bit further down, and what I was referring to was when Poor Richards announced that they were closing, and of course now,
and that's another one I'd like to try. Yeah,
Radici,
Yep.
which is
Yep.
spectacular.
Yeah.
And Richard and Allie are still doing their catering. They're still doing Poor Richard's Good to Go, which Chef Justin, who's one of your team members,
Yeah.
is a part of that with
Yeah.
Richard. They call it sometimes they call it Two Chefs No Magic. They do a lot of cool events. So what I said was yesterday when I shared that, I said not to say that I told you so, but Radici is excellent.
Yes.
I'm actually going to get together with Richard and Allie, and we're going to do Mattia and John Doe's tasting menu in the near
nice.
future with my wife, which I'm very excited about. But you can still get Poor Richard's Good to Go for catering, just like you can get catering services from the Cottage.
Yeah.
Most recent development here was this guest cottage in the back, which you have made some renovations to. This was, I think it was, I want to say, was it early last year that you made the changes over there?
It was a year ago. Yeah, it was like
Yes.
middle, something like that.
Right.
2023, end of 2023, something like that.
Yes. So when I was there for the soup tour, like I had mentioned before, this is where I was hanging out for us to record our little soup video about the French onion soup.
Yeah.
And so what this did was this expanded your dining area with the number of tables that you have access to significantly, and gave you more space. And correct me if I'm wrong, Leslie, there you do have the ability here to, if someone wants to have an event, that is something that is available. Is that correct? So
that room functions, for two purposes. Well, three. Obviously when the weather is bad, because we have a lot of outdoor seating. So it offers us an internal space, which is really great. That's our coffee bar. So we have finally introduced espresso and cappuccinos, which is really nice. And this is a smaller venue. This holds, I think we're allowed 18 to 20 as a private event. We've already done several of those, and I would say 16 is kind of the best number for back there. It's not a large venue.
Yeah.
It's beautiful back there. The interior designer is the mother of the carpenter that did all of the work in there. And it's just, every single thing we chose to do, I had Bluffton in mind, down to the wallpaper, down to the artwork on the wall that are actually photographs reprinted from the archives of Bluffton. And we're talking back even to the late 1800s. And we just wanted to create a space in dedication of Bluffton. Bluffton is changing really fast. We would like to preserve some of the more, beautiful things that we love about Bluffton, why I moved here and chose to stay.
Yeah.
And it's just a really nice place. And most people will be very happy to know that you don't have to go through the scullery to get to the bathroom anymore. We do have a proper bathroom.
Yes, towards the back there. As I was looking up that the couple of photos that I had of that room, I came across the photo of the French onion soup for the soup de tour, which was outstanding. I love the texture of this velvety, silky French onion soup. This was delicious. I think you guys have done an incredible job with that back room. And that kind of brings it full circle when you talk about just the environment and the setting with with all the beautiful art and things like that that you have going on there. So guys, again, we covered a lot here today. I know we spent most of our time talking about the Cottage, rightfully so. We spent a little bit time talking about Bluffton Pasta Shop, as well as the Juice Hive. Again, these are all places that I am a huge fan of. So highly recommend, again, the Cottage, breakfast, lunch, also brunch, and of course the high tea. So go check them out. As far as socials, Facebook is the Cottage Bluffton. Let me take this off here. Facebook is the Cottage Bluffton. Then we have Bluffton Pasta Shop. Just spell it out there. You just search it in Facebook. You'll find it. The Bluffton Pasta Shop. And then, of course, the Juice Hive. And you're going to find these all, 3 or 4 of these are on Instagram as well, which is your marketing team does a spectacular job. Shout out Kristen, who's been tremendous, helping me get everything set up for the soup tour and everything else. We're definitely going to get you guys in on the sandwich tour that's coming up in the next several weeks. Before I let you go, is there anything else that you want to spotlight, or anything else that's upcoming, whether it has to do with any sort of events or any news or anything like that you'd like to mention before I let you go?
The only thing I'll say is that Bluffton Pasta Shop and the Juice Hive Juice Hive is already doing delivery. We just started doing that, as well as pickup on Chow Now, and Bluffton Pasta Shop will be using that same platform for delivery and pickup starting next month.
That's incredible.
We'll get Cottage on board, but that's going to take a minute. So
sure, of course, especially when you have a business as that busy as it is, when you're going to wrap in another service like that. But that's what I love about you, Leslie. You're constantly like innovating, not just within the menu in these concepts, but then also the other stuff that we're doing. I'm going to get you back on soon, because I want to take a deeper dive into the ambassador stuff. One of my favorite things, other than hearing about your stories, is I love talking to chefs about other chefs, and that level of collaboration that you have with the ambassador program. I'm going to bone up. I'm going to do a little bit more studying of that on my end, and we'll have a deeper dive and take more of a conversation into that. And then in the meantime, I will be back for lunch soon. I need that French dip in my life, as well as a couple of other things that I noticed. It's very hard for me when I come to a restaurant like yours, because I want to order everything, and I have to rein myself in sometimes, because a lot of that stuff is better enjoyed fresh on the spot than left over, like I had with the soup tour, when I had my entire refrigerator full of quart and pint-sized deli containers, because I couldn't eat all of these soups all at once. So even that day with the French onion soup, that was my dinner later that night, because I enjoyed a few bites, but then I had to move on to Ocon and probably about 4 or 5 other soups. So thank you very much for participating in that. You wanted in right away on it, which I love, and that's exactly how you are with this type of stuff with food and beverage in the area. I knew that you would be. You jumped in on it right away. Love you guys. I love the team. Thank you so much for taking the time this morning. I really appreciate it. Best of luck with everything moving forward. And like I said, we're going to get you back on soon so we can dig deeper into that ambassador program.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I really appreciate you. Yep. And all right, guys, stay tuned. I'm going to be back tomorrow. I got to get moving here as we head towards lunch hour. I know Leslie's got to get going as well. Cottages, I'm sure, already cranking at 20 after 11. And I can guarantee you that they will be tomorrow, when we have a farmer's market with what will be an unseasonably warm day tomorrow. We're topping out at 70 degrees before we get back into a little bit of a refreeze for the weekend. So perfect, beautiful day for the farmer's market. There's not a better combination of breakfast or lunch at the Cottage, and then you walk it off, so to speak. If you want to head down towards the Calhoun Street dock, you want to double back and hit the Martin Family Park for the farmer's market, which, like Leslie said at the top, this is where all of this started. Was with you at the farmer's market. So go check them out. Go check Leslie and the team out over at the Cottage and the other businesses that we talked about. And that's all for today. Thanks again, Leslie. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Nick. Appreciate it.
Have a great day.
You too.
All right. Thanks.